Hello, welcome to another edition of North Coast History and Haunts. Today's episode takes us to Puritas Springs Park, here on the west side of Cleveland. And Puritas Springs Park was an amusement park, and it was opened primarily in the early and mid part of the 1900s. It was driven by one man, and he built this on the site of a former picnic area, and he built it at the end of what they called an interurban line. It was a rail car that connected a lot of the suburbs, and it really provided a lot of transportation to young people growing up in Cleveland at this time. It was at the end of this rail line, and John Gooding leased the land from the rail line, and he had this vision of an amusement park, and that's what he built. He started just really small with a roller rink, and the big bands and musicians of the day would come and play. He also had a dance hall, and unfortunately it would burn down several times during the lifetime of the park. The park became popular, and in 1926 they realized they needed a roller coaster, and they got one. They got the Cyclone roller coaster, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is at the end of Puritas Springs Park, and there's an apartment complex here today, and we're going to take a quick drive through. But this would have been the entrance, and this picture was from the park was not operating. You can see the snow on the ground, but this is where the entrance to the park would have been. By 1926, they realized they needed a roller coaster to compete with some of the other amusement parks within Cleveland, and they appealed to a gentleman by the name of John Miller, and John Miller had gained a reputation of designing really fantastic, really cool roller coasters. So he came to the site and he saw that this park descended down into a ravine, and he decided to make use of that. So the Cyclone was designed for a first treacherous hill. Some said it was as big as 90 feet drop from one point to the other. But in 1926, this was a big deal, and it became really a premier ride and a premier destination for all of Cleveland. As time went on, it gained a reputation as a dangerous ride, and people should be afraid of it. Well, that just added to the allure of the whole ride, and before you know it, a lot of people came here just to ride the Cyclone roller coaster. There's parts of the Cyclone roller coaster still existing today, and we're going to go check that out in a minute, but this is approximately where the entrance to the roller coaster would have been. Unfortunately, eventually it became more and more expensive to maintain it, and unfortunately in 1956 they had to shut it down because insurance costs and maintenance costs were just too great. It was made of wood, so it required virtually constant maintenance. And then the following year, there was a devastating fire in 1959. Unfortunately, the roller coaster did burn down. We're going to go and check it out here in a second. And this is Metro Parks property. You can go and check it out. So we're going to walk up here and take a look. And you can see as we kind of trudge up this hill here, there's parts of the roller coaster still here. So let's walk up this hill. And you're going to take a look. You can still see some of the foundations, the footers are still there, as well as parts of the wooden track. So let's take a look, take a quick walk, and let's see what we can find out. So we're going to walk along here, and the roller coaster itself was between, I think, 3.5 minutes long. You can see part of the old track that's still there. So as we're going to walk up here, you can imagine looking out over into this valley. That would have been pretty scary, especially with all those trees, and at night. That had to be a pretty crazy ride. There was one death, unfortunately, attributed to this ride. A 21-year-old man would be oversupplied with alcohol, and unfortunately he fell off the ride, and the train car subsequently ran over him, and then he plunged into the ravine. So it had to be a pretty rough death. But overall, there are reports of people with broken bones and things like that, and it was probably typical of the time. Unfortunately, the park did fall on hard times due to a variety of reasons. It was family owned, and eventually the family didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to handle it anymore, and with sagging attendance due to the rise of the automobile and frankly television as a source of entertainment, the park was closed in 1958, and that was the end of this beloved amusement park. There are a lot of people who still like this park, and the West Park Historical Society in Cleveland, Ohio is a really neat resource, and there's a really cool book about it. But this is where the amusement park, in fact, this is where the Cyclone roller coaster would have been. There's not much left today to remind us that there's an amusement park here, but at the time, this was a really popular amusement park, maybe even the most popular in Cleveland. There was a rail line that ended here, which really helped a lot of people get here. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more videos.